Oh, it is. It is a Thursday episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno with you here pretty much every day at 3 p.m. on 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. And I say pretty much every day because we did not have a show yesterday. I was running around town, had a meeting, a work-related meeting, a non-work-related meeting. I did, though, do over an hour yesterday on the Miami Sports Music channel with Steven Daniels on Clock Blockers, is what he calls his great morning show. So if you wanted to get another fix of me, I don't know why you would, but you can check out that episode on Miami Sports Music from yesterday. But we're back on 5 Reasons Sports Network today. Huge shout out to everybody who's already in on the chat, interacting with us. I see Big Dan 305. I see Lewis Sung Sr. I see Andy from Scotland. I see Brooklyn Rob. By the way, Brooklyn Rob was shot out of a cannon. Immediately, he was upset by the title of this episode. Reports Deshaun Watson could still end up with the Miami Dolphins. And 2 hours before the episode even starts, Brooklyn Rob writing in, where the hell are you coming up with this? It's debunked. This, one, Watson still not cleared of charges. Grand jury still exploring. Two, Watson and Flores had mutual interest in each other. Flores is now gone. Three, he said Ross was unwilling to sign off on Watson's deal while being pressured by Flores. Four, Watson will eat up 65% of your cap space. I don't know if that's an actual scientific number. With you still needing to sign O-linemen, retaining Ogba, Needham, Gesicki, etc. And then he says five, Breer is getting killed for drafting Jackson and Noah. You think 2 years in, he is going to admit failure with Tua by signing Watson. Now, I want all of you to hear me out, okay? This is why we're talking about this. This is why the episode is titled the way that it is. There are still folks nationally and outside of the South Florida market who are trying to keep this Deshaun Watson story afloat. And they're getting it from somewhere. My thing is, they're getting it from one side, okay? I'll give you a couple of examples of this. So, within 24 hours of Brian Flores being fired, which surprised and shocked a lot of people, I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked because I know Flo and Breer didn't have the best relationship, and I know Flo and Tua do not have the best relationship. So Flo being let go despite 2 straight winning seasons was not a shock to me, and it shouldn't have been a complete shock to a lot of you out there. But this is a tweet from John McClain, an excellent columnist from the Houston Chronicle. And John McClain has been he's been one of the most informative, whether you agree with his information or not. He's one of the most been one of the most informative and vocal about the Deshaun Watson to Miami saga going back to just about a year ago. I mean, the rumors about Deshaun Watson in Miami started before the Super Bowl last year. I think it was in January of last year, before the sexual assault allegations and accusations even started coming out. We were talking about a possibility of Deshaun Watson to Miami, and John McClain, who covers Houston sports, has been a big time, news source on all this stuff. And he tweeted out after Flo got fired, John McClain tweets, "Don't buy for a second the Dolphins won't continue to pursue Watson." And then I'll give you another example of people trying to keep this story alive. Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, he does a mailbag column every week. And he was asked by one of his readers, is the idea of Watson to Miami dead? And this is the way that Albert Breer responded. He says, Ryan is the person who asked him the question. He says, Ryan, the answer is no, as in his mind, it's not dead. He writes, Deshaun Watson's desire to play for the Dolphins, as I've heard it, was bolstered by Brian Flores' presence there, but that was hardly the only thing Miami had going for it, he says. There's also a good core group on the roster, cap flexibility to allow for guys to come with the quarterback, no state income tax, and yes, the simple fact that it's South Florida. Ultimately, I think it's probably dangerous at this point to go off last year's assumptions. He said last year, maybe he didn't like the idea of going back close to home and joining the Carolina Panthers, but could the right offensive coordinator get him to come around? Does the year the Eagles just had under Nick Sirianni improve their standing in his mind? And the Broncos don't even have a coach right now, which seems relevant. In the end, he says, if clarity comes on his legal situation, then I think there will be plenty of suitors for Watson. And my guess is that Watson would reassess where every team involved stands. And remember, he has a no-trade clause, Albert Breer writes, which can help him steer the process. So, and I know that I'm sure we have a good mix of viewers. There are probably a lot of you who say, why are you even talking about this? Screw Watson. I love Tua. Watson, is he's an alleged predator. I do not want him here. I want to continue with Tua. And you get angry even by seeing Watson's name brought up. I'm sure there are probably some of you watching this who want Deshaun Watson to Miami. So you're hoping I give you some good news. I don't think I can really give you any positive news in terms of Watson coming to Miami. Now it's and even what I read to you from Albert Breer, he keeps it very open. Like, I don't think you can 100% shut the door on Miami not taking another look at Watson. I don't think you can 100% shut the door on that. However, I think the percentage has gone down significantly. And it's a lot of different things. I mean, okay, you remember how close the Dolphins were to making that move in November. It was reported afterwards that basically they were looking for Watson to get 22 settlements. He only got 18 out of 22. So they were 4 settlements away. But a lot of that was under the encouragement of Brian Flores, who really, really wanted to make the move. And yeah, okay. So maybe 2.5 months ago, Watson was only 4 settlements away from coming to Miami. We still don't have a grand jury decision on indictment or no indictment. The lawsuits still have not been settled. None of them have been settled to this point, okay? So we're not really any closer to him resolving his legal situation. And I'm looking at it from the Miami side of it here, okay? I'm looking at it from the Miami side. Now, maybe Brian Flores was not the only reason that Deshaun Watson was and is still potentially interested in coming to Miami, but I know he was part of the reason. So Brian Flores leaving, some of you think that completely kills the idea of Watson coming here. I don't think it kills it, but I think it severely injures it, okay? Because you're taking away a big factor. Not only did Deshaun Watson want to play for Brian Flores, but Brian Flores was Deshaun Watson's biggest advocate inside the facility. So if you take that away, the percentage does go down. It does go down. There's no question about it. And another thing, friends, that brings the percentage down is, like, okay, I mentioned we still don't have, from Deshaun Watson's side of it, we don't have full resolution, not even partial resolution on his legal troubles. And I'm not going to approach this from a moral standpoint because that's an entirely different show, right? If you've decided in your mind Deshaun Watson is guilty and he doesn't need his day in court, like, I'm not having that conversation right now, but I'm telling you, if for most teams, the bar that they need to be set as to whether or not they would deal for Watson is if he's legally cleared or not. He still hasn't gotten there yet, not even close to it. But if he does get there, let's say Deshaun Watson does get legal clearance within the next few months, okay? What's going to happen is Miami has lost their first mover advantage. Now, I know what you're thinking. Deshaun Watson, he's still got a no trade clause, so he can decide. But things can change in the landscape of the league. And Albert Breer pointed that out in his mailbag, that you've got some teams that maybe a couple of months ago Watson wasn't considering, who have head coaching vacancies, are potentially hiring head coaches he may like or approve of. I mean, hell, we don't even know where Brian Flores is going to end up. If Deshaun Watson really likes Brian Flores, what if Brian Flores gets hired by Houston? Might he reconsider? Might Watson say, you know what, maybe a Texan's not so terrible after all. They don't even have to trade me. I'm already here. So the landscape can change. Miami had a big-time advantage 2.5 months ago because at that time, that was the only place Deshaun Watson wanted to go to. But yeah, might he change his mind about Carolina? Might he change his mind about Philadelphia, who he rejected a couple of months ago? He did not waive his no-trade clause for them. Miami no longer has the first mover advantage. And also, I had it on very good authority before the trade deadline, Miami did want Watson, but they didn't want Watson at Nick Caserio's asking price. Miami did not want to do the deal on Caserio's terms. They wanted to do the deal on their terms. They were negotiating how much they would have to give up for Watson. And that was during a time when Watson was legally very toxic. So if he is able to get settlements within the next couple of months and becomes less toxic, then the asking price, unless Watson literally vetoes any team outside of Miami, the bidding war is going to rage a lot hotter than it has been. I spoke to someone who covers Houston sports this morning, Houston area media person, And, and I asked him about this flow stuff. Is Brian Flores really the deciding factor for whether Watson wants to be in Miami and wherever else? And what he told me was that Watson wanting Miami, the way he understands it, has a lot more to do with lifestyle than football. And which that seems pretty easy to believe, right? That it has more to do with lifestyle than football, because Miami's offensive line, like Deshaun Watson reportedly want to be in Miami this past season. Miami's offensive line, not good. I mean, usually when a quarterback is making a football decision, where do I want to play? A lot of that I would think has to do with who's protecting me during the games, right? So football-wise, Miami really good defense, and apparently he likes Brian Flores, which is all fine and good, but offensive-wise, yeah, you got some pieces. I mean, Jalen Waddle, I'm sure, would be fun to throw the football to. Mike Gesicki, if his guy Will Fuller, maybe if Watson had come, Will Fuller would decide, hey, my finger doesn't hurt so much anymore. Let me get out there and play. But still, when you look at Miami's offensive line and offensive coaching, I can certainly agree with what this person told me, that no, what Watson's decision to him did not have nearly as much to do with flow. Flow was just somebody he happened to like, but it had a lot more to do with the destination and the lifestyle. And I want to bring this full circle here on this Watson stuff. And again, I think the percentage chance that Miami legitimately goes after him, I think has gone way down, right? And I think flow being out has a lot to do with it. And this is something that Brooklyn Rob brought up in the messages he was sending earlier in. And I do think that this comes into play. How bad would it look for Chris Breer, who's now apparently fully in charge, because Brian Flores was not a yes man, so they got rid of him. Maybe they're looking for a yes man now to be the next head coach, but Chris Breer, apparently couldn't carry enough weight in that front office, so he had to get rid of Flo. Chris Breer is not going to want to pull the plug if he doesn't really have to on his 5th overall pick from 2 drafts ago, because like Brooklyn Rob said, in that same first round, you failed miserably on Austin Jackson. You failed miserably on Noah Igbenogany, who's not even really an NFL player. I mean, the guy, whether he steps on the field, defense, or special teams, he blows. Austin Jackson is a human turnstile on the offensive line, and those were the other first-round picks. So, yeah, I mean, Chris Breer would love to at least give another year to his golden boy, his poster boy, Tua Tagovailoa, who he drafted 5th overall. The fan base got really excited. They sold a lot of jerseys. They sold a lot of tickets because of Tua. Now that Flores is gone, yeah, I do believe Breer wants to ride with Tua for at least another season. And okay, and on this reporting, like we told you what John McClain from the Houston Chronicle had to say. We told you what Albert Breer had to say. You guys need to remember, when you get information, reports, and leaks like this, it's always coming from someone's perspective. Who do you think is giving reporters this information, and what agenda do you think the person leaking things has? I do really fully believe that the information that is coming out on the Dolphins, still maybe strongly being in it for Deshaun Watson, I think that that's primarily coming from Deshaun Watson's camp and coming from Houston sources, because from Deshaun Watson's point of view, he has wanted to be in Miami all along. So apparently he's still telling people that. From the Houston Texans and Nick Caserio's point of view, they want to create as much leverage as possible. If they're going to trade him, they want to get the best possible return. So whoever is interested in Deshaun Watson, they want to make everybody believe, hey, Miami's interested, this, that team, and the other is interested, to try and drive up the price. I think right now, it's radio silence from the Miami Dolphins. I don't think anyone is getting credible information from the Miami Dolphins on how interested they are in pursuing Deshaun Watson. And it's not only because of what I said about Chris Breer, that I don't think Chris Breer wants to pull the plug yet on Tua after drafting him 5th overall. But the other side of it is, you can't really make that sort of a blueprint for this coming season until you have your head coach in place. That's the other thing on this, that, okay, there could be a coach out there that you might bring in who might say, you know what? No, I want to make a run at Watson. I don't believe Tua is the guy. I want to make that run at Watson. Or let's say you hire somebody like Brian Daboll, who worked with Tua Tagovailoa in Alabama, if they do hire Daboll, I'm not saying that's my preference, but if they do hire him, that might be because they want to hire somebody who's willing to work with Tua and has worked with Tua well in the past. So a lot of this is going to depend on who the head coach is. And one of the suspicions that I have, and not trying to report anything on this topic, nobody's told me anything about this. I certainly wonder, with the interview process that is getting underway for the Dolphins, they've requested interviews with a bunch of different. Mike, wow. Mike Lewis, thank you. So David Culley is out. The Texans have fired their coach. Bro, honestly, Nick Caserio, I know you're a big-time viewer of this show. You should hire Brian Flores. Like, honestly, it makes too much sense. We were talking on Monday with our buddy Alfredo Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry, and he's brought this up with us a couple times, and I think he's 1,000,000% right. Nick Caserio doesn't really want to trade Deshaun Watson. He had just taken over as GM, and then a bombshell drops like days later. Oh, no, Watson wants out. He wants to be traded. And then all the sexual scandals come up, which hurt his value. I think Nick Caserio would rather patch things up with Deshaun Watson than trade Deshaun Watson. So they should hire Brian Flores. Give Brian Flores a blank check and let Flo try to talk it out with Watson and work that out. But yeah, I mean, guys, again, I don't think there's a whole lot coming out of Miami right now. So these reports about Watson in Miami, I believe it's coming from Watson and it's coming from Houston, because until Miami hires a head coach, I don't see how they could actually be thinking about making a move like this right now. It's going to depend on who they bring in. But I hope in this Dolphins interview process, they're not limiting their search to, like, I hope Stephen Ross and Chris Breer, when they get together in the conference room to interview candidates, I hope they're not saying, hey, let's only hire somebody who's willing to keep Tua as their quarterback. Let's not hire anybody who doesn't like Tua. I hope they're not limiting the search, okay? All right, let's bring on one of our favorites. Joins us every week. Thursday, Dolphins expert, DolphinsATB.com, FinManiacs.com, 5reasonsports.com, Hussam Patel. He's got the fan on full speed above his head, so I know you're very cool in your bedroom there. I think it's your bedroom. It could be a home office. I don't know. Dolphins banner behind you. How you doing, Hussam? Hold on, I couldn't hear you so well.
I'm doing well, Alex.
There you go. Now I hear you. Okay, so Hussam, before we circle back to this quarterback stuff, I don't know if there have been any updates in the last hour or so, but I'm looking at this was a tweet from our pal Brandon Ligori, who you do a podcast with. He joins the show frequently. The Dolphins head coaching candidates thus far that have been publicly announced. I don't know if they're having any secret meetings or what, but the ones that have been publicly announced: Brian Daboll, who's the Bills OC, who was, I think, under Sperano. He was briefly a Dolphins OC. He's also a guy who's worked with Tua, so they may look at him like a yes man, like, oh, go and try to fix Tua, Daboll, try to fix him. Mike McDaniel from San Francisco, who I'm kind of excited about McDaniel, but also terrified because he doesn't have head coaching experience and he doesn't call plays. So it's like it's a roll of the dice, but he seems very dynamic. They're interviewing Dan Quinn. Now, I don't like Dan Quinn for two reasons. One, he's a defensive guy. I'd prefer an offensive guy. And two, he had a failed head coaching tenure in Atlanta. So, yeah, he does have head coaching experience, but maybe not the kind you want, right? Kellen Moore, Cowboys OC. Everybody's talking about Kellen Moore. They love him in Dallas, but no head coaching experience again. Vance Joseph, the Cardinals DC. Like, I mean, why? He was the defensive coordinator here 1 year under Gase. Seems like a nice enough guy, but he did a terrible job head coaching in Denver. He spoke to the media really well. I liked Vance Joseph, but that defense wasn't particularly good. And Leslie Frazier, the Bills DC. So, like, I noticed a pattern on this, Hussam. All of the offensive-minded guys they're talking to have no head coaching experience. The defensive guys they're talking to do have head coaching experience. I don't love this list. And, like, where's Doug Peterson? Where's give me somebody else with head coaching. Jim Caldwell, like, give me somebody else with head coaching experience. Like, do you like this list so far? I don't.
Well, there's also another pattern there too, Alex, and I don't know if anybody has brought this up, but of all the coaching candidates that they're going to interview, they either have experience working with the Dolphins or Chris Greer has them in his phone book.
Good call.
Remember, Dayball was with the Dolphins back in 2011 under Tony Sperano. Greer was the personnel scout with the Dolphins. Leslie Frazier doesn't really have that much connections, but he's had failed head coaching experience with the Vikings, and then he went to the Bills, just made up his repertoire. Vance Joseph, we all know how that went. He led the Dolphins defense, which was okay, but they let up the most yards in Dolphins franchise history, and it was just a very, very
It was
fluky
very
way.
generous of you to say, oh, they were okay, but they let up the most yards in Dolphins franchise history. Are we sure that's okay?
No, it's not okay. And he went to an elite defense in Denver, and it just that offense stuck, and that defense was middle of the pack. So it's basically Brian Flores light, but can speak to the media and has somewhat of a personality. So
Uh,
I wouldn't necessarily consider Vance Joseph as a good candidate. Leslie Frazier, yeah, maybe he'll bode well with this defense, but it's feeling like a Rooney Rule type of check mark. And
yeah.
I'm guessing Manny is backstage. He's like, Doug Peterson, Doug Peterson.
And
Well,
that's who I want, who's some Super Bowl winning coach, former coach of the year. He can work with quarterbacks. I mean, look how well he had Carson Wentz playing,
you
and then
mean
look how
Frank
well
Reich?
he had Nick Foles
You
playing
mean
well enough to
Frank
win a
Reich?
Super Bowl.
You mean Frank Reich,
Oh,
Donno.
so that's who we're going to give all the credit to then.
I mean, outside of Frank Reich, when Doug Peterson was with the Eagles, he didn't have that much type of success. And are we forgetting that Peterson is basically also hard to work with, and the way he left Philly is similar to the way he left.
Mm.
He left similar to the way Brian Flores left in Miami. So, do you really want another occurrence of that happening in Miami?
Yeah, but is it just like, okay, how much of this is Chris Greer being a baby? And like it's a serious question, man, because I've noticed a trend here, Hussam, and a lot of folks even in the local media who are Chris Greer guys, a lot of excuse making, right? Because okay, ultimately I judge a general manager. I don't know how else you judge a GM because he's not out there coaching. So I judge the success of a general manager based on the players he signs, drafts, and trades for. And if he's the one who has final say over all of that stuff, I believe that falls into his jurisdiction. So I've noticed these Chris Greer fanboys, they give him credit for the good picks. And then the picks that haven't worked out, have you noticed everyone, and these are the Chris Greer, we got the Chris Greer Brigade, or so we have to find a name for these people. The Chris Greer
Greer now?
Brigade, they give him credit for all the good picks, and then all the bad picks, they say, oh no, I have it on good authority. All the bad players, those were guys Brian Flores wanted him to pick. So it's like, and I'm sure a lot of this is coming from Greer. History is written by the victors. He still has his job. Brian Flores doesn't. So he's weaving his narrative. But honestly, man, okay, if you're really going to blame the bad picks and the bad signings on Brian Flores, then I've got to ask a follow-up then. If you have final say on all of this stuff, why are you letting a guy who doesn't have final say bully you into making bad picks? So either way, that's Greer's fault. He's either selecting crappy players or he's letting somebody else under his nose select crappy players.
It's because Chris Greer is a yes man that wants to have a good relationship with his coach, wants to have a good relationship with his general manager, and ultimately is fighting to keep his job
Yeah.
beyond the next 2 3 years. Because he's been with the Dolphins for the last 20 plus years, since basically I was a baby. Okay, since I was a baby, he doesn't want to let this go. He's been there from the start, and either he's looking to possibly become the owner with Steven Ross or something like that. But hey, Happy New Year, Brooklyn Rob. Nice to see you. But
By
Chris
the way, it's
Greer
way too late.
is
It's way too late to say Happy New Year. Like we're
Chris
halfway through the month. Move on with your life, Rob.
Greer has is a little bit power hungry. He wants to have that ultimate say in power, and if he doesn't get it, well, he can spin his narratives. I don't know if you saw the report, but apparently there's a report which I clearly call bull crap on, is that Brian Flores told Tua Tagovailoa he should have selected Mac Jones in the first round.
I didn't see that, but that even I think that sounds like BS.
And let's assume this
Uh,
isn't BS. Let's assume this isn't BS. And if it really is believable, that comes into question. Either A, he didn't believe in Tua Tagovailoa, or B, he's really, really bad at scouting and developing offensive players.
yeah, yeah. Listen, man, I thought Mac Jones looked pretty good against the Dolphins. You know, people try to, try to pick these narratives where like, if Tua plays well and the team loses, oh, it's everybody else's fault. But then if Tua throws for 109 yards and the other quarterback, what was he, around like 250 in that game? Up Tua won. He got the W. Played way better. I'm getting tired of all the excuses. I think honestly, the Dolphins they're gonna drive me into an early grave. Like I need to find a hobby. Like I need to find something else because living and dying with this team, it's like I'm 37 years old. People probably think I'm 60. Like they run into me on the street and just I look haggard, I look worn down, I got bags over my eyes. They're like, what's wrong? Like, do you have Omicron or something? I'm like, no, I don't have. I've got Miami Dolphins. I rooted for this team my
You
entire
have
freaking life.
BFDS. You have battered Dolphins fan syndrome.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to be the next head coach of this team?
I'm not going to spoil it because it's coming out in an article with Five Reasons Sports very, very soon.
So you're going to break it. You're going to break it on the website today.
Either tomorrow or sometime this weekend, Monday. It's just an assumption. No, no real source-worthy
Okay.
news. Just based on prior football knowledge and seeing how this team has done historically in their coaching search. So you have guys who are offensive geniuses, defensive geniuses, people who can build a staff, and people who are just, simply good coaches, but can't really lead a team.
By the way, Rhonda gets it. Rhonda has cracked the Da Vinci Code that is content creation.
She's so right. She's so right. She's like, I'm not. I am seeing through all of this right now.
Okay, so if you're going to be a weasel and not tell me who you think they're going to hire because you want to get some exclusive on the way you're not 54, believe it or not. So if Husam's not going to tell me who he thinks they're going to hire, and you've got this like whole metric on how you're going to decide this, let me just add, and I think this is a different question. Who would you like to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? And where did you go? Okay, there you are. Who do you want to be the next head coach? Who would, if you were the GM, and you'd probably not be a yes man if you were the GM, I would trust you to be the GM of this team. Who would Hussam Patel hire?
I think it would come down to two coaches, and specifically if they want to keep Tua Tagovailoa, or if they want to either stay with this defense, build around Tua Tagovailoa, or another quarterback. I would go with Brian Dable as my
Really?
top choice for right now. Yeah.
And is that because Brian Daboll might actually like Tua, and you're afraid somebody else would get rid of him?
I think it's because Brian Dable would actually like Tua. He's had proven
Okay.
success with Josh Allen. He knows how to build an offensive juggernaut. He knows who he can bring in with his offensive coaching staff. And probably if he would want to keep this uh, defense intact, he would keep this defensive staff and let the defense run its course because they're all talented players.
Yeah.
Coach Boyer, Coach Gerald Alexander, and everybody, they know these players like the back of their hand. So keep the defense intact and really fix this offense and fix this offensive line.
Um, Andy's not the first person to bring this up. I don't like it, and nor do I think he's a candidate. But he brings up Bill Cowher. It's like how long has Bill Cowher been out of the game? Like first of all, I don't. If he wanted to coach again, surely at some point in the past 15 years he would have decided to take a job. Like I think he's completely out. Like I don't know. A lot of people bring it up.
I don't think Bill Cowher, I really don't think Bill Cowher would actually come out of retirement and try to pl- try to actually coach for another football team. He's already in the Hall of Fame. He's retired. He's done whatever
Yeah.
he could do. But I mean, if you want to go the bold route, why don't you go ahead trade some draft picks for Sean Payton? Go ahead.
Yeah, right. And you know what? And I don't hear any talk about it outside, but I've talked about it amongst friends, right? People forget you can trade for coaches. There's precedent for it. It's happened multiple times before in NFL history. Like, you're not limited to someone on the carousel. You could, trade for somebody off the carousel. Now it would make a lot of sense, Hussam, for Sean. Not that it would make sense for Sean Payton necessarily, but it would make sense for the Dolphins because Sean Payton knows how to work with quarterbacks with weak arms. He helped turn Drew Brees, and I'm throwing a little shade here. I'm having a little fun, but you saw how well Sean Payton's offense was for a Hall of Famer in Drew Brees, and maybe Sean Payton could really dial up the proper playbook for Tua Tagovailoa. So I think that could make sense. But do you think that that's actually a possibility, or are we just fantasizing?
It's just an assumption. I just really don't think Sean Payton will leave the New Orleans Saints job unless the Dolphins pull off an absolute shocker, which will never really happen unless they're truly, truly desperate.
Do you take it at face value on Monday when Stephen Ross said he's not going to be the guy to take Jim Harbaugh from Michigan? Because I'll put in one caveat there. What if Jim Harbaugh has already decided to leave Michigan and it's going to be either Miami or somewhere else in the NFL? I might as well. Oh, I think I see Manny. Manny, pop yourself in. It's like Manny's got a question.
Alex, I can't really hear you that properly. I'm gonna leave and then come back in. I
Okay.
think my headphones are.
Oh no! By the way, first of all,
headphones.
Harbaugh wants more money because his rival coach at Michigan State just got paid worth a $20 million.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's roughly, what is it, like $200 million or something like that? Mel
I'm
Tucker.
not sure. I know it's a lot. I know it's
it's a lot of money. So
yeah.
Also, when we talk about Sean Payton, has he done anything successful without a quarterback like Drew Brees? I understand that's all he's had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to say that, yes, he's a great, offensive mind because he's done so much. But I'm sorry, he's only done it with Drew Brees. There's no other quarterback that at least has had the close skill-wise as a Brees that he's able to do that with. And don't give me, Jameis Winston was on the verge. Please, that's just BS. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna take that as a
but how long has he actually had without Drew Brees? One season?
But that's my case though. And that's what I want to ask our guests down here. Hussam,
well, ask him.
You've seen that Drew Brees has been Sean Payton's only quarterback for such a long time, and I understand that. But that doesn't make me feel confident saying that he's a guy that you can go out there and, he can coach any guy, right? I mean, I'm sorry. I get it. Winston, Book, what is it? Trevor, I forgot his last name. Simeon. No other quarterback has been able to do what Brees has done with him, but yet that's only been his only quarterback since New Orleans. Who's to say that he can do it with anybody else but Drew Brees, right? It hasn't been proven yet.
Yeah.
I guess I'm on delay.
Hussam, can you hear us?
I missed the entire conversation. I'm
Jesus
so sorry.
Christ.
Oh my God. Well, okay. It was a shitty question anyway. I'm just kidding, man. I was kidding. So I'll throw it in case you didn't hear what he said. Basically, I disagree with him, but he's basically saying, how do we know Sean Payton can do anything without Drew Brees as his quarterback? Is that fair? Because he's only had outside of one season, he's had Brees.
This basically comes back to that same argument in which you can say, is Belichick without Tom Brady?
Yeah.
That's the same point that everybody is basically trying to make. I mean, Drew Brees has been in the NFL for a couple years before he worked with Sean Payton, and Drew Brees was already knowledgeable about NFL defenses. He knew how to read NFL defenses well, and all Payton had to do was really tinker with them. Now, if you want Payton in Miami, I think it's just a very, very wild scenario. You give him Tua Tagovailoa, but it's not only that you have to work with Tua Tagovailoa. You have to build a whole new offensive staff. You have to build an offensive line. You have to develop this offensive line. You need new running backs. You possibly need another 1 to 2 pass catchers. It is an enormous task to bring upon an already great head coach who's been in the same position for the last 15 plus years. I just don't think that Payton would leave New Orleans to go to Miami.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. And last one on the way out. any chance of Jim Harbaugh? I don't think so. And on Monday, I thought when I saw that Flo got fired Monday morning, I'm thinking Harbaugh's got to be their guy they're going after.
So
Nothing over the last 72 hours has supported that. So I don't think it's happening. What about you?
And here's what from ATB, the other network, here's what the sources are telling us. Basically, it's basically a leverage play for Harbaugh. He wants to get a fat stack at Michigan. He took a pay cut the last 2 years, and in that pay cut period, he beat Ohio State. Right, finally beats Ohio State.
Yeah, for like the first time in 50 years.
He gets into the playoffs and plays against Georgia, who just won the Natty and went toe to toe with Nick Saban in Alabama. I think that's pretty warranted. In the Big Ten, it's literally only Michigan and Ohio State. And he just beat Ohio State, right? You have two coaches.
Michigan State occasionally, yeah, baby. It's really Michigan, Ohio State. I hear you.
You have two coaches in the Big Ten, Ryan Day and Mel Tucker, who got, I think, 10-year, $100 million extension, something like that.
Yeah.
This is who Harbaugh is. And knowing Stephen Ross, he is more so inclined to be with Michigan and have him there in Michigan than for him to come with Miami.
Wow. By the way, if you guys see this on the screen, I think I may be on Team Flow again. Like this is...
Do I have permission to play the audio?
If you have the audio, play it.
I think I can play it,
man.
Well, let me hold on. Let me real quick because we'll transition right in this to Barry Barger, who's waiting. So let me say bye to Hussam first, and then play the audio. Then we'll talk to Barry. Hussam Patel, 5reasonsports.com, DolphinsATB.com, and Fin Maniacs. And Hussam, you are going to you were unwilling to do it on this show. Shame on you, but you will be revealing on 5reasonsports.com in the coming days who the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins will likely be. Is that correct?
Not who will likely be, who I think they should. I think they should.
All right.
Well, Sam, Eagles or Bucks on Sunday?
I'm sorry, Manny, but the Eagles.
Oh, get out of here, bro.
It's an easy win for the Bucks.
I'm kidding.
Thanks, Hussam. We'll talk to you later, my friend.
See ya.
All right, so Manny, play this audio real quick, and this will also give Barry in the waiting room a chance to hear this before we bring him on.
The Miami question for me is, which I think they're going to find out if people are honest in the interview, right? Like a lot of people are never honest in the interview. They tell the owners what they want to hear. They tell the GMs what they want to hear. But if you're really honest, are you going to sit there and say, I can build a team around Tua? Because that's what Ross wants to hear. That's what Brian Flores wouldn't say. I mean, we've seen all the conversations that Flores basically was, had with Tua, where Flores told Tua at halftime of the Tennessee game. This has all been reported. I mean, look, I don't think Flores was shy about telling him, hey, I should have picked Mac Jones. I mean, I don't think he was shy about telling him that. In fact, I know that he wasn't. I remember I said there was commentary between the head coach and Tua during the season, and I wouldn't reveal what the conversation was. Well, the conversation was, hey, if I'd have knew you're going to be this bad, I'd have picked Tua. I would have picked Mac Jones. That's the conversation. So, I don't think there was any. So the next guy come in, if Flores felt that way, how is the next guy going to come in and fix it? You say, well, they're going to run an offense that suits what Tua does. They are running an offense that suits what Tua does. It's the only offense you can run. It's the only one you can run. You got to run an RPO where he can throw little passes and run after the catch.
So that audio, courtesy of the GM Shuffle with Mike Lombardi on the audio.
Just one thing before I leave. If he really wanted Mac Jones, would he have made this offensive line better? Would his offensive coordinators change? Would Mac Jones even survive behind this offensive line?
No.
If you had Justin Fields available at that pick, why would you take Mac Jones over Justin
Fields? And if Deshaun Watson hadn't allegedly assaulted 22 people, he probably would be a Dolphin by now. But my aunt had a pair of balls; she'd be my uncle. It didn't work out that way.
I just don't know if I really buy this report, and if it is true that
probably just talking shit. Like it's like sometimes you say, like, when you're in the heat of a moment and you're trying to cut somebody deep. Like Flo might have been pissed at Tua. He's like, I should have taken Mac Jones over your bum ass.
Yeah, it's like me saying I should have had Big Cat. I should have been talking Big Cat instead of Alex Jones.
Oh, by the way, a couple people have pointed this out. I'm Lombardi go in timeout seriously. So look at Lombardi's next tweet. He says those were my words for Flores, not his. Well, and listen, he clearly is backtracking on this, Hussam, but in that audio piece, he did make it sound like he was quoting Flores, and then he claims he wasn't.
Alex, Michael Lombardi goes on every single national radio show in this country, and he says this all the time. And once he gets a message from somebody, oh no, you got to go out there. This is absolute. I'm sorry, I'm not buying his next tweet saying this is not true. This is what
So
Michael Lombardi
he got
does.
in trouble. Like
Michael
Flores.
This is what he's been doing since his days at NFL Network. And I know this
Yeah.
when I was working on the Michael Irvin show back in the day with Kevin Kylie, okay, and he was our guest, he would always say, oh, can you please delete these comments that I have said on the air? Now, no, bro. You said it. It stays there as point. You
I didn't know that. Wow.
He's also been like really just, I don't know what his sources has either given him false info and he's really ran with it and then previously deleted it. Lombardi is just not, he's not it, man. He's not it.
All right. I'll see you, Hussam. Have a nice day, sir.
Bye, Alex.
And
bye, Manny.
Bye-bye. OMG, bro. People know nothing about football, dude. The GM and head coach have to work together. Oh, no, I agree with this because what you're saying is the GM should just pick players and the coach with no idea, just coach them while people have no clue. No, hold on. And what I'm saying is you have to hold Chris Grier accountable for some of these bad picks. I understand he's trying to work together with Flores, but he ultimately has the authority at the end of the day. And if you're going to give him credit for the good picks and then say, well, all the bad picks were Flores picks. Grier never misses. Like he allowed Flores. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the head coach is ultimately the one who got held accountable for that when it's the GM's job. That's all I'm going to say on that. Let's bring on the anti-mush. Barry Barger, my man from betus.com. Good afternoon, Barry. And Barry, you were one of the first people to text me on Monday morning with your shock about Brian Flores. Did you see this coming at all? Did you think Flores is going to get axed on Black Monday?
No way. That's stupid. Come on. What are you going to give the guy a little bit of a chance? He won 7 in a row. And then he won the last game too against was it against New England or he lost one. Did he lose the last 2? Lost one, and then won the final game.
They won 7, lost 1, and then won the final game.
Yeah, it was shocking, but behind the scenes we don't see everything either.
Yeah,
could have been some problems between him and the GM, him and the way and I heard you guys talking about Tua a little bit, and maybe the way he didn't, wasn't fully on board with Tua, and maybe that was some of the things that ruffled. And he still went with it. He helped develop Tua. He won those games with Tua. There's stuff there that we don't know about that hopefully will come out. But that was a shock to me. He'll have no problem getting, just like I think I texted you. I'm like, he'll have no problem getting a coaching job somewhere real quick.
I feel the same way. Yeah, I know he's going to interview with Chicago. And honestly, Barry, like I got the news during the show that the Houston Texans fired David Culley.
Just saw it.
The Texans should interview Brian Flores, and they probably will, because if it's true that Deshaun Watson wanted to play for Brian Flores, maybe that's how you keep Watson in Houston then if you hire Flores.
Well, Houston's already said they'll be trading him before in the offseason, that they will be trading him, or I think they said trading him, or getting rid of him, whatever it is. But maybe I think that the problems with the executives and with the owner probably in particular is too much to keep Deshaun.
Right.
I think there's – because I'm sure that they purposely just smeared him. They're the ones that made sure all that stuff came out. They're the ones that made sure all that all these women. I mean, I can guarantee you. And that, talk about an owner you don't want to play with. And I mean, there's some behind the scenes stuff that I've heard from players that we've interviewed here that was off the air and stuff that I can't repeat 100%, but it's, those owners are bad. And they're allegedly fairly racist.
I remember that was part of what Watson was hinting at. And obviously once the allegations started coming out, he went into radio silence. But before that, there was a lot of leaks from his camp that, he wanted to go to a team that was more socially progressive than Houston. So, yeah.
Right.
There's out there too.
There's a particular story that involved Hopkins that involved
Watson?
The receiver.
Hopkins?
Hopkins, yes.
Yeah.
Hopkins, that was bad, and that's why he wanted to get out of there. It was a personal experience with him that was pretty nasty.
Wow.
With ownership, but it's one of those things. Like I said, we don't know everything that goes on behind the scenes, and we don't know the particulars on a lot of these people because these guys are billionaires and they're able to keep everything under the rug. And if you talk, then you're going to be kind of ostracized by a lot of the owners, or certain stuff that. And I believe you should keep a lot of stuff private on the low, but there's been a few instances that are not pretty for that ownership group there, like his dad, and it's I don't know, it's a pretty nasty situation. But I mean, if it's mendable, maybe it could be with Flores coming over as coach. I don't think it is, but I didn't even think about that part of it, but that would make sense. I mean, how, like I said before, like Deshaun Watson has as many charges against him as Tampa Bay did returning starters from the Super Bowl team this year.
That's such a great line.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't heard anybody else say it, but I said it early in the year. I had said it a few times, which I'm like, is that? I said it first on your show.
Yeah, I remember that now that you brought it up.
Is that funny, or is that too far?
The thing is, like, to be funny, you have to go a little too far usually. To really get me, like you can't go too far over the line, but you got right to the line, and I think it's a good one anyway.
Yeah, and Miami looked. I love the. Lombardi. I know you guys, I've heard a couple comments, not really into him, but I listen to him quite a bit. And I can understand he may share a little bit too much information, which I agree with, because you can tell when he's talking about somebody that he talked to that they actually said it, and in this case,
and then he realizes I shouldn't have said that.
Right. But he's got great information. I mean, that dude was a successful GM, and he's in the know, and he talks to, all these people that are in the know, the coaches, the GMs, the owners. So, sometimes he slips a little bit like that, but a lot of times, most of the time, he brings it across as general information. And so that's why I trust him, because he is talking to these guys. And he is getting the information for them. So there's a lot of information there that's pretty good. And everybody likes different stuff. I mean, personally, I like it. I mean, like I like listening to him because he gives good information, and I've followed it before. And over and above that, who knows what people really are like, in real life, what their personalities, what their integrity factor, all that stuff. That's until you have somebody that's, in that, like the tight group around people like that, it's mostly, gossip, rhetoric. So I don't just buy into anything I hear. That's either rumors or something. Somebody's usually got an angle when they're saying something about somebody. A lot of times it's true though, but also I don't I don't really give it too much headspace unless I can research it and find it out myself through something credible. Just because, people have agendas. People have had bad experiences with people.
Yeah.
And
everybody has a different side of the story. Like when you're talking about
Right.
a coaching relationship that goes sour, someone gets fired. I'm sure if I spent a day talking to Brian Flores and then I spent the next day talking to the GM
Right.
and then the day after that talking to the owner, I'm probably getting multiple different perspectives on the way things went down.
Hey, there's three stories.
Yep.
His side, and the truth. The three different. Really, it's like and so it's just a matter of using the information that you know is fact and figuring it out. It's you got to do that a lot too with everybody that you're dealing with. So it's it is what it is. But it's still all fun. And Tua, look, Mac Jones. I don't know if that he could have done well behind that line. So that's a good point. Maybe Mac Jones is a better quarterback, but he's in a different system.
Yeah.
So
and he's not the type, like with his his lack of mobility. He's not the type to play behind a bad O-line. Somebody like Deshaun Watson or Justin Fields could play behind a bad O-line.
Right. Just like you guys were talking right before I came on. I was like, yeah, that's a great point. You can talk all you want about Mac Jones, but they're on two different offensive lines, two different offenses, two different offensive coordinators. But Mac Jones, he couldn't get out of that stuff like Tua does. And I don't, it's what setup that you're coming into. Like, it's all speculation, but really Mac Jones turned out to be a real good quarterback, but he's under Belichick.
Yeah.
And they're babysitting him kind of. He was, I won't say game manager because I don't really like that, but he was. They took they lowered the risk on their plays with him a lot of the year, and like look at Joe Burrow. They limited him just because of coming off his injury early in the year, and they finally let him go loose. And what he threw over like 1,000 yards in 2 games.
Yes, I know it was well over 500 the last one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I mean, that's crazy, right? Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Well, I wanted to talk about a few of the games on Wild Card Weekend, and again, like as we all know, they call me the mush. Barry Barger is the anti-mush. Barry Barger from BetUS.com. BetUS.com is our official sports book. Barry, I wanted to throw in, because those who are looking to place some wagers today at BetUS.com are like, I'm jonesing to lock something in on those Saturday games. So I want to look at the 2 Saturday games and then one of the Sunday games.
Okay.
We'll start with the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cincinnati Bengals so that we can pick up where we left off with Joe Burrow. Cincinnati home hosting a playoff game. 5.5-point favorites at home, over under a 49. Who do you think gets it done here? And is there anything you like in this game?
Well, this is how stupid I am. So I like Cincinnati right when the line came out, and it was, I think, 6 or 6.5. And so I played it figuring it was going to 7 because I thought, man, I really like Cincy in this game. The Raiders, okay, they won that game, and there's a few things besides that they're not as good a team. One thing, so they played a late game Sunday night. Their defense was on the field 75 plays. That's a pretty big amount, and they're playing Saturday. I don't know if it's the first game or the second game.
First game.
So they're playing. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff tends to matter, especially Vegas. They've got kind of middling defense. They don't have great defense. They've played okay, and Derek Carr's been okay, but their running game is, I mean, they're 5th worst as far as rushing goes in the offense. So I'm guessing this is going to be a lot of passing game because neither D is really great against pass. Cincinnati's ranked 27 against the pass, so I think Carr can have some success here. But I think Cincinnati's really, without skewing too much towards these huge games that Burrow had, I think they've got a much better team than the Raiders.
I agree.
And I don't think the Raiders – I really think Cincinnati's going to win by 2 scores in this game. Now, as far as what is it, 49, I think? 49. And at 5.5, by the way, I'm going to jump back on that. I bought it down to 5.5 on a couple parlays that I did, but I wouldn't have to pay that money if I'd have waited and been smart enough to
but like you said, it's also, it's a gamble in itself because you don't know. You were thinking the number was going to go up. You didn't expect it to go down. So you locked it in when you thought you had to.
Yeah, there was 3 of them. And I bet Dallas, and that stayed the same because I thought that was going to – that came down. That came out the opposite way. And I bet the Cardinals, but that one came down because that was like 4.5. So I got 4.5. I'm about to +5, get over the – or no, I didn't buy +5. 4.5, and now it's down to 3.5, I think. But, sometimes I get – usually I'm pretty right on those kind of things, knowing which way the line's going to move.
Yeah.
But Dallas is just I can't believe. I mean, everybody's on San Francisco, or I'm hearing everybody, which kind of great. I'm like, I don't mind being a contrarian on something I like. And I know we're not talking about that game, but that's just as far as
we'll
that
get to it.
goes.
Yeah. Well,
But the Bengals,
ahead.
as far as the total goes, the 49. Like I said, I think this is the Raiders are going to have to pass. And the Bengals have been passing I heard you say shit, so I guess I could say shit on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're passing the shit out of the ball. So even though that's pretty high, I'm going to be going with the over on that play because Bengals are going to, the way the game goes, try to figure that all out. And I think the Bengals go out and they're going to be up a couple scores. The Raiders are going to have to throw the ball. So they're either going to score or turn it over, which creates more points. And so that's why I think this is going to go over the points. And, I like Cincinnati actually a lot better than the over. It's weird. You really don't like, even though I get a better point now, -5.5, you don't like to see the movement that way because most of the time that implies wise money. Right. A lot of big money's on the other side. But they're not always right.
They're not always right, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe 99% of the time. Sure, they'll miss this one. Yeah,
I remember one of the notable misses that I had with movement was, and a lot of people bet on this. Last year's Super Bowl where I was really high on Kansas City, and then the number was moving down in Tampa Bay's favor, and people were telling me, hey, the Sharps, they're going in on Tampa. That's why the line. I still said, no, you know what? I still like Kansas City. And boy, did they know something I didn't, Barry. They knew.
That's the same thing that happened to me. Exactly.
Oh, really?
And I didn't buy back, try to do it. I was just like, they're just wrong. Looking back at it, I understood why and everything, but at the time, I did the same thing as you. And I saw that line, and I'm like, "Ooh, that hurts. That's going the wrong way." and with that big a game, that's a lot of money, and it moved plenty. Where I was like, I could be in trouble here, and I was, and so were you.
So was I. So let's get to the other Saturday game, the late game. And it's, for every Dolphins fan is pretty familiar with these teams. The Patriots at Buffalo -4 at home. I haven't, maybe you have. I haven't checked like the detailed weather forecast. I'm sure it's going to be bad. I'm sure it's going to be bad weather in Buffalo in January. But like the last time these teams played in really bad weather, it actually favored New England with their running game.
Yep. New England ran it 46 times or 45 times and passed it 3 in that game. And this one is actually going to be it's going to be single digits, temperature wise, and a chance of snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that favor New England then?
Well, maybe. Buffalo already knows their game plan though. They can't do that again. And Buffalo. You've seen Mac Jones. He's slipped from grace since that first game. they faced each other. And so Mac hasn't had the greatest of games. I mean, even in the 2 games, I wrote this down because it's pretty. He's 16 of 35, so just over 45%, 164 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. So that's against Buffalo. So they won't be able to run the ball every play and shock Buffalo. This one, there's no surprise there. So they aren't going to be able to do that. Josh Allen has been running the crap out of the ball. In the last 5 games, he's averaged like 68 yards a game. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns the last 5 games. So they have that to worry about, along with Buffalo learning off the last game. Off the last game that was in this kind of weather.
True.
So, and after actually kind of, beating them down pretty bad. I think they won 33-21 in the second one when it was in New England. So at 4, I just think that Buffalo has that much better a team, and their defense, I think, it's going to be really tough for Mac to do anything, especially if they get down. They aren't going to be able to run the ball 45 times again, 46 times. Buffalo be ready for it, and if they keep doing that, they've got game tape. And Belichick's a genius, so he's going to come up with a great game plan. But I just don't think the Patriots have showed that they're nearly as strong a team in the last 4 or 5 weeks that Buffalo is. And, if Buffalo got beat, I mean, that wouldn't be a total shock to me either. But I think if things go the way they should, I think Buffalo should win this. The only problem is, okay, it's 4 points. I think it'll be a close game. Mm-hmm. So this wouldn't be a strong one for me because the total's only 43.5, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at 44 at bet.
44 now, yeah. And so that's, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't like 40, but, a little lower, 42, 41. But I think at that total, this weather, I think I'm going with the under there if I play it right now because I think both teams, they will run the ball a lot.
I agree. Yeah.
And they will, but one team's going to have to pass or won't. I mean, if Buffalo gets up by 2 scores, Mac's in trouble, man. He's not going to be successful against these guys. Not only because of the weather, but because of what he showed the last few games, and especially the last game against Buffalo. I mean, in those 2 games, completing 45%, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Buffalo's kind of got his number as far as the passer goes. So I think that puts New England in a tough spot. So that's, and these are both games I'll play because I'll be playing every game. But right now it's -4. I'm taking Bills in the under on that.
Now I want to get one more in here to make my producer happy because he's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. Because I think you already mentioned you're taking Dallas over San Francisco, right? So I want to ask you about the Philly game as well. Now Tampa Bay are big favorites here, -9.5 points. Over under 46 against Manny's Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think the Eagles can cover? Are you look at anything in that game?
Yeah, I do. It's just too many points, and I can guarantee I should have looked at the ticket numbers. I can get those to you later, but sure. I bet the tickets are on Tampa probably 8-1, or 8-2, Ooh. Like probably 80%. I would guess.
Ooh, okay.
because people are going to look at this and go, Tampa, Philly, and so you got 60% of your bettors and squares are just going, I'm going Tampa, and they don't really care what the line is. It's under 2 touchdowns, and it's
true.
No, it's a playoff game, and you just play to win, and it's not to destroy them. I mean, if you're up, you're playing ball control. You're trying to get that clock out. You're trying to get out of there. You want to get your players hurt. You're in the playoffs now. So it's not a let's get this team grooving and let's just Brady's he got Gronk his bonuses. Did you see that? He stayed in the game to get him his extra milli.
And I'm sure he would have tried to get Antonio Brown his bonuses, but he quit
What
in the
an
middle
idiot.
of the game. He was like 3 catches away from like $1 million bonuses.
What an idiot. And they're trying to put him back in so he can get it.
Yeah,
It's
idiot.
And the way he goes about responding to that, I'm like, yo, AB, you're already like down. And then when he starts ripping Tom Brady, he said something about, when they asked him about his
going
staying in
after
his
the
house.
trainer,
He went after everybody. And then he's like, oh, I mean, the stuff he said about staying at Brady's house showed no appreciation.
None at all.
And dogged on Brady a little bit. And I was like, man, that's true colors. It's like you had your chance, and Brady tried. Brady, my favorite. So fantasy football, these guys that are the best established the run. So Evan Silva, who I've been following for like 10 years, and Adam Levitan, these guys are great. And so Levitan on his podcast, he'll say, Tom Brady brought a known psychopath into his house to live with his wife and kids.
He's got like 6 kids, and he brings the craziest man in America over.
Wife and his kids. It's like, but I love the way Levitan works it because he's just awesome. I mean, Levitan just won $250,000 on DraftKings a couple weeks ago, by the way, too. And it's like, I mean, these guys are good. It's established the run. I'm not trying to plug them, but they've been great for me. And for fantasy football players, DFS. I mean, seriously, I've went through all of them for years. And Evan Silva is the best in the business, and Adam Levitan is the number 2. Maybe he's number 1 now.
Might be.
But anyway, on that thing, as far as that goes, Philly, man, can they run the ball? I mean, right? And Jalen Hurts, everybody's been dogging on him from the beginning. And even when he was semi-successful, he was great in fantasy, but not as great as an NFL quarterback, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they're in the playoffs, and they're getting, I'd love to have 10.5 on that. Yeah, that's what I'd love to have is 10.5. And I don't remember what it opened at, but yeah, definitely. I'm not giving that many, even with Tom Brady in that game. And next week, I'm sure it'll be like, hey, I'm the mush. I'm the mush. I'm the mush. And it's just like I bet against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
I did it again. Well, but I don't know.
But it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different this time because Brady was the underdog last time, whereas this time he might still win, right? And I can still win the bet if they just don't win by enough. See, so I can have my cake and eat it too.
Hey, there you go. I don't know.
So Barry, by the way, and you're one of the best in the business, man. The best in the business when it comes to keeping people informed in the betting game. Let people know what they can find at betus.com, in the locker room, on social media, and all that good stuff.
You bet. Like on our social, our Twitter at BetUS_official, at BetUSProFB. We've got our NBA Twitter. We got all of them. So we're constantly putting up promotions, contests, all that stuff, and we always put new ones on the thing for all our players too. I'm working on something right now. We're going to do a play off of 2 songs that I rewrote words for. I Love LA and City of Stars from La La Land. And so, it's going to have to do with football, the rewords. We're going to have people send in videos for, I'm trying to get, they were talking about maybe doing some contest with Super Bowl tickets. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to let us do that. That's big. But I think we get $500 prize or something. So I would say check it out because it'd be a 30-second thing. It'll be on all our socials and stuff. So look it up. We got a bunch of promotions and stuff coming up. It'll be great. And March Madness.
Oh,
the bracket stuff, man. It comes up so fast, man. It comes up so fast. So yeah, check us out on there. We got tons of stuff. Our locker room is loaded with information to look. Get you up on all the NBA, all the college hoops, all the NFL, everything. So it's really a great source. It's where the game begins. It truthfully is because you need to do your source information, make your bet there, and then let the game start. It's really it's a good process. Really is. Alex.
Barry, thank you so much, Barry Barger.
Alex, yes.
Enjoy your weekend and good luck.
You too, man.
Awesome.
Talk to you.
That's always some of the most fun I have every week is talking with Barry Barger. And yeah, guys, I want you to check out betus.com. And I love everything that they do because not only does betus.com give you a place to wager, it is a full service sports book. They've been paying out their customers for almost 30 years. They're the 3-decade leader. You can also get information at betus.com. You go into the locker room, they're going to keep you up to date on insights into the games, who you should bet, who you should stay away from. And on their social media channels, they do that as well. It is available in Florida, by the way. It's a full-service sports book. You can play, bet, win money, and you can use it in the state of Florida. You go to betus.com, you sign up, and please use our code. Our code does two things. It helps us out because they know where the referral came from, and it also helps you out because when you use our code, 5RSN125, you see our promo code there. It's on the screen, 5RSN125. When you use that code, when you make your deposit, they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. So let's say you deposit $100. They're going to give you $125 in free play money on top of your deposit, and you can have fun with that free play money. Bet NFL playoff games, bet on college basketball, bet on UFC fights, NBA, NHL, everything you can imagine they have right there at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. betus.com. Hello, Manny.
All right, my friend. So according to Sports Talk 790 in Houston, Texans are targeting head coach Brian Flores for their head coaching position, a strong relationship with Nick Caserio. I don't know who Nick is.
That's a great point. And I think
there you go.
I don't know if I think it was either Hussam or somebody in the chat brought that up. Brian Flores, I think he checks off 3 major boxes for Houston. Number one, I think he's an excellent coach, right? Despite he's got some things to work on, right? Apparently Flo needs to work on talking to people. That's what they're saying. He's also got to work on how to build a coaching staff. He's got to work on that stuff. But Flo is an excellent defensive. He's just better than May Sperano, rest in peace. But no, I think he probably is better than Sperano. I don't know. Stupid debate. One guy's no longer with us, so I don't know why we would even debate that. But no, I think Flo is an excellent coach. So he checks off that box. He checks off the box, like Manny said, of having a good relationship with the GM there because he and Nick Caserio work together in New England. And he also checks off the box of being a guy that Deshaun Watson likes. So if they might try to salvage that relationship, I know Barry doesn't think it's happening, but I still think they should try. I still think they should try to salvage that. And Brian Flores, maybe he's the man to salvage that relationship. Guys, we are also brought to you by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I went out to the Quarterdeck yesterday. I had lunch. Bros, building your own poke bowl. Fresh tuna, spicy ponzu sauce, brown rice, avocado. Oh, my God. It was so good. The fish is so fresh at the Quarterdeck. The burgers and sandwiches are awesome. The baby back ribs are so tender. The Quarterdeck is also a great place to wet your whistle. Guys, locations all over South Florida. 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. The 2-for-1 happy hour never ends at the Quarterdeck. It's a great place to watch a big game. They got flat screen, high-def TVs all over the place. Big screen outside in the patio. And it's a great place to watch a UFC pay-per-view fight because they have those for no cover charge. By the way, the Quarterdeck is also the sponsor for the weekly combat sports show that I do on this network. And we're going on tonight. Tonight, 6 o'clock, so less than 2 hours away, right here on 5 Reasons YouTube. You can watch me, James Walker, and Frank Zaffrey live. And special guest Dean Thomas of UFC fame is going to join us at around 6:30. So join us tonight, 6 o'clock. And everybody in this chat, if you're from South Florida, you probably saw the news yesterday or today. Jorge Masvidal has his next fight signed. He's going to fight the grudge match with his former best friend turned enemy, Colby Covington. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why Masvidal and Covington, why their friendship fell apart, and who we give the edge to in the fight. And Dean Thomas, who's coming on, has coached both of them in American Top Team, so he can give us a lot of insight on all of that. We'll see if he'll spill the beans on some of the sparring. He probably won't, but we'll see if we can convince him to spill some of the beans there. So we're going to have a good show tonight, and it's all brought to you by the Quarter Deck. And guys, make sure you support the newest member of the Donno Daily family, and that is Prize Picks. We were talking little fantasy as well. I did not have a very good year in full season fantasy, but when it comes to daily fantasy, Prize Picks and the Prize Picks app, I've done very well this year. If you're tired of losing in fantasy sports, times are changing. Now it is just you against the numbers. Prize Picks is the perfect place for you, whether the injury bug or the COVID bug ruined your season-long team, or you're a seasoned vet in the daily fantasy space. On Prize Picks, this is so unique, and I love it. You simply select 2, 3, or 4 players and predict if they go over or under their fantasy projection. You can win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. It's like you're locking in parlays. It's like it combines parlays with fantasy. It's really fun, guys. And you can go cross sport. You don't have to select 4 guys who all play the same sport or they're playing in the same game. No, you can select an NHL player, an NBA player, an NFL player. Like you can go cross sport with your selections. It's really cool. Try it out. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app and use our code 5. That's FIVE. Type in the whole word FIVE, and they give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Oh, I'm so late today. I'm going to do some quick shout outs. Manny?
Got some 5 rounds news maybe you guys want to talk about tonight.
Ooh.
Bar owned by UFC star Conor McGregor says Irish police are investigating a Wednesday night alleged attack.
Really? Oh my God! But it didn't have anything to do with Conor, right? It was just some random bar
everything
patron.
has to do with Conor. Okay? if a damn story has nothing to do with Conor, something will pop up that will have Conor's name on it.
Especially when it involves people getting into brawls. Usually Conor's not far away from that. He tends to attract that sort of attention. Huge shout out to David for tuning in. And I know David hates the Deshaun Watson talk, and he's still tuned in. That's how much David loves us. We appreciate you. Alex M., thank you so much. Let the man go before the school makes his child. Yeah, that's what I said. I was running late. I don't have to pick up my kid today, so don't worry about him. The last time I tried to end on time to pick up my kid. Now today, I have some reading to do before 5 rounds tonight, so I wanted to get going. But it is what it is. Enter Zone. Thank you so much. Indade. Thank you so much. Flores likely got fired for the bridges he burned, not for being an a-hole. Yeah, I think the a-hole stuff was just extra fuel that his enemies put out there because they wanted to make him look bad. You're right. The relationship's burned. There was something that came in. Man, a lot of messages have come in the last few minutes. So I know I run. Okay, yeah, I wanted to read this. Manny, though, actually, Manny talked about this already when he came on. Just announced Flo is the top candidate for the Texans right now. He says, I swear to God, if Watson comes back and that team starts winning, I may become a Lions fan for Campbell.
Wow, there's news coming all over the place from Houston. So now apparently there's another reporter in the Houston Chronicle that's saying that their current offensive coordinator is now the leading candidate for the head coaching job. So
really,
it's quite clear.
I
don't know. So it's so many mixed reportings right now, but this kind of makes sense when you're trying to do something that, you're trying to get everybody going to the left and all of a sudden they go to the right and do something totally different. Yeah. So now you have multiple people saying multiple things. Here we go, baby. NFL.
And by the way, Doug Peterson is my top choice for the Dolphins job. And as far as I can tell, they haven't even planned an interview with him yet. Come on. I mean, interviewing a bunch of coordinators. Oh, Pep Hamilton. Okay. Look for Pep Hamilton to ultimately be the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans under the next head coach. Okay, so that could be... Oh, by the way, that would be another kick to the groin as a Dolphin fan. I wanted Flo to hire Pep Hamilton last year to be the Dolphins OC. Instead, Flores promoted 17 people from his staff. Here, you're the coordinator. You're the coordinator. We're all coordinators now. So can you imagine? Oh, my God. If Flo wanted to send a big FU to the Dolphins organization, he takes the Houston head coaching job. He hires Pep Hamilton, who he should have hired in Miami a year ago, and he repairs the relationship with Deshaun Watson. Like, because a lot of Dolphin fans would have said, I want a flow coach team with Pep Hamilton as the offensive coordinator and Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback. Can you imagine if Flo gives the people of Houston that and not us? That would be the ultimate bleep view to the Dolphins. Oh man, Andrew, thank you so much for tuning in. G.A. Kane fan, my dude, thank you so much. The Finns can hire David Culley. I wouldn't rule out, would make no sense, but I wouldn't rule out. The Dolphins don't tend to make sense, so I wouldn't rule out anything, if I'm being real here. All right, Fins up Nubbins, who says he trusts John McClain more than anyone on this show. No, and listen, yeah, a lot of what John McClain, he's been in the business for a long time. John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, and no doubt, like everything he has reported to this point on Watson, I think it's been legitimate reports. It's coming from certain sources and certain points of view. Like, I have no doubt Deshaun Watson wants to be in Miami. I'm just having my doubts how much Miami wants him at this point. That's all. But yeah, no, John McClain is very good at his job. Let me throw a few more shout outs here. Cuban Kane, thank you so much. Watson not coming to this terrible organization. Tua and the Finns are a match made in heaven. Well, we gave Ryan Tannehill 7 years, right? We can give Tua 1 more or 4 more, 5 more, depending on how the Dolphins want to play this. Let's see. Indeed. Rhonda, thank you so much for tuning in. Rhonda, though, accused us of clickbait. How dare you? How dare you accuse us of clickbait? Let's see. Who else? Mike, thank you so much for tuning in. Lil Mick 551, thank you. I'm and just so you know, when I throw the shout outs, I always miss people. I'm definitely gonna skip some people today, not on purpose, but I'm in a rush. So I've already gone way too long. Julian, thank you so much for tuning in, or Julian, maybe. George, thank you so much for tuning in. Sal, Big Sal, thank you. I don't know if he's big or not. I just figure if somebody's name is Sal, like I picture, I don't know, most Sals are big, right? It's just a name like you expect to be on like a heavy set person. I apologize, Sal, if you weigh like 108 pounds. I don't want to stereotype you, but I don't want to hear the name Sal. I picture like a big Italian uncle, like, hey, man, Salvatore, how you doing? Mamma mia. That kind of thing. Doug Dickman, thank you so much for tuning in, Doug. Try not to do any repeats here. Brooklyn Rob, as always. Yeah, he noticed all the Russian spammers, like one of these people. Russians, don't click their links, please. I don't want to be responsible for anybody getting viruses. I shouldn't have even put this on the screen. Forgive me. Johnny, thank you so much. Jay Mill, thank you for tuning in. Chris at the Finns tailgate says, don't worry, Donno. I feel like Chris's head is already laying on the chopping block. Chris Greer. I don't know, man. You could have said that any time in the last 18 years. How many front office purges has Chris Greer survived? He is the ultimate. I said this yesterday, not on my show. I said this on Stephen D's show on Miami Sports Music. Chris Greer is the real life version of Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Chaos is a ladder. He climbs the ladder of chaos. Every time there is a front office purge, Chris Greer not only survives it, but he gets a promotion. He's gone from, he was a member of the scouting department, and then he ends up GM, and then he's a GM with more power. And now he's a GM with even more power because they got rid of Flores. Part of the reason was Flores trying to take authority away from him. And yeah, you're right. Littlefinger doesn't have a good ending. So we'll figure out who Arya Stark is in this story, who brings him down. All right, a couple more shout outs here. Then we got to run. Joe Cotter, Mr. Cotter, thank you so much. Welcome back, Cotter. Alex M, thank you so much. And I'm sure I'll see Alex M on 5 rounds as well. He's a frequent viewer of that. Oh, and I missed this before. Devin Jordan with a super chat. Thank you so much, Devin, for the generous donation. Ross cares more about Michigan than the Dolphins. It's 50-50 at the very least. I wish it was like 80-20 Dolphins, but yeah, it's at the very least, it's 50-50. All right, that's going to do it. I apologize if I missed anybody. I'm going to talk to you guys again in a little over an hour and a half. 5 rounds coming your way at 6 o'clock right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.